So.
Are we the only ones here this morning?
Is this all? Bill?
Yeah.
Bill?
So you, stripped on speaker?
Yeah.
Talk.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Oh.
If you did it, okay, I don't know where it will be.
Me?
It made the ale.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the only thing I saw.
I did something today about it.
Yes. Yeah. And that was his reason. Just what they said.
No, Melody.
See what they say.
Oh, there it is. I just asked if they broke that. Yeah. Like we just yeah.
May they close at 7?
Yeah, they know.
Yeah, that means.
I just finished one yesterday. So this, one of our sales guys, his friends are the hockey. It's with the school logo and hockey. Late at night on Sunday.
I'm gonna change it. Just. We're gonna let, give his presentation. Yes, ma'am. That'll be after you did. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order.
Well, first, I probably thank you so much this week today. We got to bless this meeting, the decisions and pleasures that includes the you. Lord, I ask you to pray for being with and show them that your grace is with them, the people of Russia, innocent people of Ukraine. Because let them know your grace is with them, because without you, we are nothing. For your son, and in short time, in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Yes.
All right, thank you, everybody, for coming. At this time, any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. All right. Court to discuss and consider inter-precinct project schedule and staffing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're working as hard with what we've
With
got
what we got.
and no rain.
Right. Well, we have a building down,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
so.
I've talked to my foreman, he's
they're
talking
gonna
to
do
other
all that.
foremen, come down and we can do it.
Good, good.
Chris said he had fun.
Yeah.
It got piled up, so
It doesn't look like it's gonna take a whole lot. Not as much as I thought.
not
it
near
was.
as much real concrete as
Yeah.
what we thought there may be.
Absolutely.
It's very good.
Court to consider bids on fuel oil and grease table from last court meeting. This is the two bids y'all wanted to see on fuel and oil. You have copies?
It looks like Legacy has definitely got the fuel.
Yes, they do.
It looks like Tucker has the oil.
Yeah.
I did contact both companies and both of them, that is the delivered to each precinct price. Tucker does not have a shop in Scurry County any longer. And so I thought they may have kept one for diesel, gasoline, whatever. They did not. And so they do deliver to every precinct, for those prices. So I would make a motion that we accept Legacy's bid on gasoline, diesel, fuels, whatever, and Tucker's bid on oil by the drum.
That's it.
All in favor? Okay. Court to discuss and consider setting a date for a public hearing regarding the renewal of the, or reauthorization of the guidelines and criteria for the tax effective guidelines for Scurry County. We were gonna do that last week, too many of us were out, so we're gonna, let's see, can we set that for March 15th? That'll be our next meeting, and I was mistaken on the 30 days, it's not 30 days, we just need to get it posted sometime before.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Court to discuss and consider going out for bids on silt covered gravel.
Somehow, I guess the email was not in a position that they saw it. I don't know what happened. We've emailed these guys before. He said he did not see that email, and so he is simply the one that really has any rock close to us. So, need to go back out and see if we can get that bid in. We're gonna have to have all sources because everybody's running out just because of all of the work that's being done on the wind farms and the solar farms. So we don't really have a choice. So I make a motion that we go out for silk coating rock.
Sweet.
All in favor? Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and change this up just a little bit here. Carol Faulkner is going to give a presentation on the broadband information that you have. You were from the nation, right?
But yeah, Judge, sure.
How could the federal government got it wrong?
They usually do.
Uh-oh.
They usually do. So, let's get that up there. Yeah, just by way of introduction, my name is Carol Faulkner. I'm from Austin, Texas. Don't hold that against me, please. I'm an engineer by background, a civil engineer by background. I've been doing telecom for the better part of about 20 or 30 years. I'd also tell you that I was born and raised in Pecos, Texas. My dad was a county commissioner in Pecos for 20 years.
Oh.
So that was back from about 60 to 80. So I'm familiar with everything y'all go through. We really appreciate the service that y'all do. I know my dad would. So yes, I've been working with the Development Corporation, Snyder and Doug's group for a while, and I appreciate y'all coming back in to want to expand the study that we originally did to kind of figure out where does broadband exist in Snyder and Scurry County today. And that's, I'm going to give y'all an overview. You can tell me how long ahead, Judge. So I'll try to keep this short and hit the highlights. And y'all stop me and ask questions along the way. It doesn't bother me a bit. I usually have my wife sitting on the right-hand side, making sure she doesn't bother me, or interrupting. I'm gonna take you through this report quickly and kind of hit the highlights of what they did, and hopefully by the time we get done, my goal is for y'all to understand kind of where we are, why we did this study, and what our next steps, or my recommended next steps ought to be. On page 1 of this report, you'll see a little section I'm highlighting on the PowerPoint, the sections I really wanted to point out, but that third paragraph down there, where they talk about the FCC, getting it wrong again, really looks at mapping when they talk about broadband or high-speed internet. And in that mapping, they have what they call a 477 form. So right up front, you'll see that the primary statement here is that City of Snyder and Scurry County in general have broadband. So you're in good shape, right?
Right.
That's according to the federal government. Just a couple of slides I'll put up in here. I'm sorry, I'm not sure about what these pages are, but they're in the report somewhere in there. One of them is to just show that when you look at a 477 report, and I'll take y'all in just a minute out to a GIS interactive map that comes with this report that y'all can play with a little bit later. But this map would show you that Suddenly, for example, has service with everything in purple. Well, of course, we don't believe that, right? But that's what the federal maps show. So you can see over on the left-hand blue map, that's really the lines of the coverage that Suddenlink actually has in the city of Snyder today. Just by way of competitive landscape, when we talk about broadband, there are lots of different ways that we get internet service. One of them is through satellite internet service providers. Those are guys here like HughesNet and a couple of others out there. One of them that you hear a lot talk about lately is the whole Elon Musk thing called Starlink, and I can give you my opinion on that a little bit if you like. The wireless ISPs, those are guys like I put it Nextlink and Rise Broadband. There's another one in this community called Resound, RESOUND. Resound Communications, I believe they've got some antennas up on the east water tower. That's fixed wireless, is where you've got on the antenna, you've got on the water tower, you'll have an antenna, and on your house, you'd have a dish, and they're talking to each other, probably using 2.5 or 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi type signals. The other are people like the cable companies or the DSL carriers in Snyder for the most part, and in Scurry County, it's really Suddenlink, which you'll also see called Altice. That's the national company that just brought them. And then there is the concept of fiber to the premise, and I'll tell you, we have none of that here, and that's typical of just any kind of rural areas across the U.S. That graphic is really showing you that from a speed and reliability standpoint, satellite is the lowest speed, lowest reliability. Wireless ISPs kind of get back up on the higher speeds. That's where they're talking about being able to provide you 50 megabytes per second or 100 megabytes per second. But the reliability, windstorms, rainstorms, those things cause problems for them. The Suddenlink is a higher reliability, but again, lower speed. Reliability is iffy. I don't know if, I know I was in Monaghan's a couple of days ago and Suddenlink was completely out. So that happens about once a month for them. Fiber to the premise is really the only future-proof way to get reliable high-speed internet access. And that's where you've got a fiber cables carry lots and lots of capacity, lots and lots of speed. It's not to say that we don't have any fiber in Scurry County or Snyder, because there is. If you go down 84 and look off to the west side, you'll see the little orange top poles out there. That's pretty much AT&T's fiber running up and down. Sorry, I can't think of it. Sweetwater Highway. There are the same kind of poles, and that's a company called FiberLight. If you read the top little pole, it says this is FiberLight. So you do have some other long haul carriers coming right through the city, which is really an advantage in terms of having a starting point, right? So you've got fiber capability, getting it into the cities is the real issue. So that's sort of a competitive landscape of what it is and what it isn't. This section I'm not going to talk about much. It's just what they did in December. If you saw some guys out holding little little devices, those were spectrum analyzers that they were looking for wireless signal. They also went around and looked at all the stuff that's buried, some of the stuff on the poles. If you want to know what fiber looks like, if you just drive down Main Street and you look up on the poles of the high lines, what you'll see are those things that look like snowshoes up on the power lines. That's where they're looping fiber. So every so often with fiber, they'll run maintenance loops on that fiber. That's how you know you've got it aerially buried. You just look for the poles out there with the orange tops. So people spent a crews spent almost the month of December looking across Snyder and into Scurry County to see, well, what actually exists back out here. This is what's really of interest when you get into the actual study. And I'm sorry, I'm too old to read that far away, and y'all may not have that kind of eyesight either. In the study for both Fluvanna, Dunn, Ermley, and Ira, these are just snapshots of what exists out there in the way of quote coverage today. If it's blue, it indicates from a federal standpoint, the federal government would say, yeah, you're covered with broadband out there. But the yellow, I just highlighted who they say, who says they actually have coverage out there. So in most of these communities, you can see that it's satellite coverage from HughesNet. Some of the other folks, I think those are on page 8 and 9, I think, in the report. When we get back over to Ermley, see they actually add in Suddenlink and AT&T. And AT&T, of course, is the fiber that runs back down 84. Suddenlink piggybacks off AT&T to get fiber coverage back out in terms of transport or long haul. So if you look on there, you'll see this is what the federal government says you have in the way of broadband.
So just because they have a fiber line running through there, they're saying that they
what
actually have
happens
service out there.
is all of these carriers are reporting back on Form 474, we got this covered.
Because of that line going through there.
Well, or because they may have a coverage area out there.
Suddenlink does actually have a coverage area in Hermley.
They do.
Yeah.
And I've got that shows up on some of the mapping here. So I've got them mapped in Ermley right now. Nothing in Dunn or Ira or Fluvanna. So that's those. There's a page dedicated to each one of these communities, so you can see that for Dunn talks about Suddenlink having something there. I don't believe they've got any Suddenlink in Dunn. I think they were looking at maybe a reporting. T-Mobile actually has a service where you can actually go into T-Mobile service and buy fixed wireless. They're using their carrier service to carry people on. And of course, we all know we can get AT&T hotspots, Verizon hotspots, wherever you're going, but it's kind of iffy in terms of coverage. You get over to Fluvanna. The thing that's interesting about Fluvanna to me is that there is a fiber line that runs all the way up and into town. So they've got the ability to access fiber in Fluvanna right now. Ira, I'm not sure of. Dunn is going to be more of an AT&T potential back there. And Ermley really has Suddenlink today, but I think it's, I don't know what their experience is.
The Fluvanna fiber is
The
there, but it's the wind.
in Fluvanna.
Yeah.
So that's kind of this really came out of the Snyder report, and I believe y'all got a copy. If you don't, I can make sure y'all get a copy. But there are some really interesting kind of hybrid upgrades that, Suddenlink is trying here in the city, trying to upgrade their service, somewhat. And you can see again, that's ubiquitous coverage out there. Everything in blue is covered, but we know it's not. I don't really want to talk about this because I want to keep getting down to another map. I think it's more interesting. So one of the things that we have produced out here, oh, by the way, the pink up there, that's Suddenlink coverage. I don't think anybody believes that, but that's what they show on the federal mapping.
They tell the federal government they can.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip
They
over.
don't think so.
We're gonna have the same trouble here. I'm trying to flip over to a map. And it's not coming up on, well, I can see it plainly on my computer screen, so I guess it's a little slow back up here. Come on. Well, we're not gonna be able to see it today. But what it allows me to do is go in and take a look now, go in and take a look at facilities. You can highlight on the facilities, you can see what's actually there. All the towers are highlighted. The dark red there, you can zoom in, that's all I believe that's mostly all Suddenlink. All the AT&T shows up. I was a little surprised that AT&T doesn't have more than what I expected them to have here in the city. They represented, they had a lot more, but they don't have much fiber at all. Most of it's the old copper type facility in there. And please, stop me if you. So one of the things I think we're going to want to talk about here, really next steps.
We have Suddenlink,
Here, actually.
we don't anymore.
No, ma'am.
That's right. Switched over.
And you can go to that connectednation.org Texas Scurry interactive map to see everything that you're showing, right?
Yes, and that's in the report. I'll make sure you have that too. But I'm also talking to Jacobs and Martin folks out of Abilene because they already handle a lot of great GIS for you. I'm trying to get them just to point and connect to this site. That way, everything Cider and Scurry County have on GIS is on the same same page.
Yeah.
Okay. Good, I'm so sorry, but it is. There we go. I'm sorry, we don't see granddaughter pictures. I'm gonna get back over here so I can pull this back up again. This does not want to. By the way, part of the problem is lack of high-speed internet. Right? I actually ran a quick speed test. And you should do this at home, and I would ask, make sure you run these speed tests. I'm connected into the county facilities right here, right now. And if you run these just a quick speed test, you can kind of see what's happening at your house. It's just speedtest.net.
Yeah.
So you get a go button and hit it, and here's what we're getting right here, right now. Well, that's a little lower than what I got a while ago. So this is download speed. So to qualify on the federal government standard just for high-speed internet, you're 25 megabits down and 5 megabits up. I will tell you 5 years from now, that's not even going to get close to what people need. So
That's true.
there we are today. And that's why my screen is freezing up when I try to get back out of here. That could be that could be any number of reasons. We could, have a little bit of a wind disturbance back out. We could have a lot of folks on that system right now, trying to download, but we're running 1519, as we sit here right now. So from a next step standpoint, now that we've got this, and you might say, well, Carol, why do we spend the money to get all this data? Well, a lot of reasons, but the primary one is it always comes back to money. If for any reason we want to look at potential sources of funding to come out here and work with a partner. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. There are some sources of funding. The state of Texas, in this last legislative session, created what we call the State Broadband Office. It's one guy, Greg Conte, out of the State Comptroller's Office, and the state was given more than, quote, free money out of the Rescue Act, $500 million. So we effectively in the state of Texas right now have a one-man office looking to spend $500 million in the next 12 months. And if that weren't enough, out of the infrastructure bill that just got passed back in August, the state of Texas is likely going to get somewhere between $2.5 and $4 billion for broadband. So those funding opportunities are out there, and as they come, you want to be able to go back in and go, look, this is the mapping. It doesn't represent what's going on in Scurry County and Snyder right now. We're now a step ahead of, probably 150 other counties out there, and I spend a lot of time looking at rural broadband. Being from Pecos, I'm working out here quite a bit. I've been working with Monaghan, City of Monaghan, for the past 2.5 years. We've actually raised $3.2 million, one out of a federal EDA grant, part of it, but the majority of it out of philanthropic organizations, people like the Permian Basin Area Foundation, the King Foundation. Last week, we just got a $1 million grant from the African Recall Foundation. These are philanthropic organizations out here in West Texas where the families have made money out of the oil business and they're looking to invest back in the community, and broadband is one of those opportunities. So that, I think, is a really good opportunity to take a look at. The other next step, I really think might be to get an RFP out, and Doug and I have been talking about that, and I promised to have it by today, a few days late here. But an RFP, just to go out and say, who wants to partner with Snyder and Scurry County? And I would tell you, just by way of looking, I've actually talked to a couple of people. Vexus is a fiber to the home private entity. They're located, they're headquartered out of Lubbock. They've already put fiber in Lubbock, some of the surrounding cities in Lubbock. They've gone up, they're doing it in Amarillo, Wichita Falls, Abilene, Colorado City, San Angelo. They've just started again here in the last several weeks. But then they're also talking about going back down to the, back down to the border areas. I know they're also over in Louisiana. So they're very well funded from private equity and have big plans to build. I know they've contacted Snyder and expressed interest, but I think their interest is in what do y'all want to do for us to get us to come here.
Mm-hmm.
But, I know they're kind of skirting kind of on the outskirts of Snyder, but I think they're a potential partner. The other is Pocalambro, and I'm not quite sure where they're headquartered. They're more kind of a southeastern New Mexico cooperative, but they are aggressively, I just talked to their CEO a couple of weeks ago, they're aggressively looking to put in fiber. There was an auction, they call it the Rural Development Opportunity Fund, that came out last year. They bid on this area. They really wanted to come out to Snyder and bid, but they got underbid by that group called Resound, who underbid everybody and got all kinds of territory, but I don't think they're going to have the money to come back in and serve. Pocalambro, though, is a good potential partner, and I think there are other potential partnerships out there as well. So that's kind of the next steps that we're heading towards. Does that kind of get y'all up to speed on where we are?
Did you sit in on the broadband deal?
Yes.
Both Greg Conte and Jennifer with Connected Nation were there.
What was that? Where was that?
It was in Bryan last week. And so they gave a lot of the same information they'd given before. He's looking for employees, I believe. So, but they didn't specifically talk about this, but they did discuss that 477,
the farm.
yeah, where they're showing that they have more area than they actually do.
That is a nationwide problem. It has been. And the frustrating part is, at least for me, if I look out there and think about, I'm an infrastructure guy from way back, but we've got to get this infrastructure built. And it's not, I'm a wireless guy also. It's not wireless. We've got to get to really future-proof our systems. And that's the way we get to, the quote 5G that everybody talks about. You've got to have a fiber basis in order to get the ubiquitous fiber back up, our ubiquitous wireless systems back out there. It's interesting. It's going to be an interesting next 10 years. I can't wait to see all the different things happening. I go get my kid's Tesla and it drives itself around, and I'm terrified of driving with them. But yeah, that's the world that we're going to live in here. The kinds of things that I see in Monaghan's, the Ward Memorial Hospital cannot afford a doctor 24/7. So they have to rely on telehealth in some form. And so obviously, somebody's taking a heart reading, transfer, you can't have the internet go down. So there's some really great uses for what I think high-speed broadband brings to us, not only in that, but, agricultural type uses as well. So it's going to be a different world. I tell people, it's not about Snyder being able to see the rest of the world. It's about the rest of the world being able to look in here and see Snyder and Scurry County and see what we have to offer. So that's my broadband pitch.
All right.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I was just going to kind of follow up with what Carol was saying here from the perspective of DCOS and the city of Snyder. As Carol mentioned, we are going out for an RFP to find a provider to partner with us on this next phase, which will be the engineering and design work of the system. We'd like to encourage the county to go in with us in selection of this partner, that would represent not only Snyder, but Scurry County in the design and engineering work. So we make it seamless and all instead of two parts. I think at this point in time, we've gotten some preliminary information about the funds that Carol mentioned that are available through the state of Texas. There is a 25% match that's going to be required on that. So even if we were able to go out and secure the funding, we still got to find a way to come up with a 25% match, which some of that will be in kind. A lot of it will be the money that we're spending now on both this Connected Nation report, the engineering, all that stuff. Some of it will be from the partner that we select that'll come in and partner with us on the providing of the service here. All in all, I don't think it's going to be an issue to come up with the 25% without having to dip into any type of funds per se. But bottom line is the county and the commissioners court, need to be thinking about and deciding, do you want to come in with us or the city, when I say us, on the selection of a partner so that it will be a seamless transition between the county and the city then.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate that. I totally forgot the money pitch, but there is a need at some point to think about that and where it's coming from. I didn't come prepared to talk about what those dollars ought to be, but I would tell you, it's not a difficult stretch for me to be able to start to estimate what I think the total cost of a fiber to the home network would be in this county, and get that, just so it always helps people to understand what the cost is, and particularly if you're dealing with a partner, we're willing to do our piece, and maybe we will build part of that, and then you can lease that part as long as you'll build the rest of this and get the service back out to the citizens.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it. Hope I didn't take too much of your time.
No, sir. Not at all. Y'all have any questions for me at all? No? All right, thank you, Carol.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Doug. Let's go ahead and consider declaring April Child Abuse Awareness Month. How are y'all doing today? Good. Come on up. What's the, it's a resolution, correct?
Proclamation.
Proclamation.
April 2022. I'm Samantha, I'm the executive director now at the Children's Advocacy Center out of Sweetwater. Got my staff with me. And you can see we're a small staff, but we're taking care of business across 5 counties. We have really grown as far as going from about 200 interviews last year, and we're already almost hitting that mark, and it's only 5-6 months into our quarter. We're just overwhelmed right now with what's going on, but just from the time that I've started in 2019 to now, we've gone from about 2 cases a month in Scurry County to about 12 to 14 that actually are coming into this center, and we're able to provide services for. And then just following those families all the way up to court. So we're working very hard. And so I'll go ahead and read proclamation. So whereas more than 64,000 cases of child abuse and neglect were confirmed in Texas during 2021, and whereas child abuse prevention is a community responsibility and finding a solution depends on involvement among all people. And whereas effective child abuse intervention programs succeed because of partnerships among a variety of entities, including but not limited to the schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, child protective services, prosecution agencies, medical professionals, mental health professionals, children's advocacy centers, and other community-based nonprofit organizations. And whereas everyone in the community should become more aware of child abuse prevention and consider helping parents raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment, as well as supporting local professionals dedicated to meeting the needs of child abuse victims. Therefore, the Scurry County Commissioners Court does hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Child Abuse Awareness Month in Scurry County and urge all citizens to work together to reduce child abuse and neglect and to significantly improve the response of our community when a child abuse occurs in the months and years ahead.
Thank you.
And if y'all have any questions, feel free to stop by the center. We've just been beginning and we're trying to update and go forward and catch up with time where all the other centers are at. So
Yeah. Can you remind us where your center is?
we are located at 1911 40th Street, right next to the dog grooming place. And we're always happy to take a visitor and show you a tour of what we do on a daily basis at our center.
Thank you.
y'all.
Y'all do important work, and we appreciate everyone coming for doing that.
Motion, April Child Abuse Awareness.
All in favor? Thank you all for coming in. Appreciate it. Court to discuss and consider request from EMS to attend. Yes.
Court to have the opportunity to attend out-of-state education if we have the budget and travel funds to do so.
Why the out-of-state training? So we can know.
There's some education that comes up out of state. Sometimes we pay for the conference and the employee will pay for the travel that we can't get in the state of Texas.
Okay.
But we always look for Texas first.
Right. But sometimes you can't get that training here in Texas.
Yeah, so the National Association of EMTs to teach the PHTLS and AMLS classes. We have to go to the World Conference. Sometimes that's in Texas, sometimes it's not. We attend the pre-conference course of that to get our education, our instructor education components guideline from that.
We do it every year. There's some things he can't get in the state, as we said, so we make a motion that we're granting his request to attend state training.
All in favor? Court to consider request from Jason Tyler, EMS Director, to move funds from Texas Class EMS funds into EMS capital lines for supplies, maintenance, and purchases.
Yes, Judge, Commissioner's Court, in my executive session, we talked about some capital outlays that would be helpful to get us back up to date, especially with the medication shortages. And our computers are getting tore up. So we're getting a little bit tougher computer, or tablets, for the trucks, as well as some Engel refrigerators, to keep the medications cool. We're going to be able to get some, instead of the powder form like we used to, because the medication supply shortage, we can only get the refrigerated version. We only have one truck that has a refrigerator on it, so we're looking at getting those. We're getting some IO guns, or potentially getting some IO guns. Our other ones are over 10 years old, and we can't perform what we need to perform on scenes because the battery keeps dying, and we have to end up doing it manually. And then there's a potential for the upgraded cardiac monitor as well, depending on the savings. So I'm requesting that the court allow me to and to move 72,000 from fixed class into EMS capital lines, depending on the need of the service throughout the year.
And these are the funds that were received from other sources, correct?
These are revenue, rollover lines, yes, and received from other sources.
Gotcha.
So they're not taxpayer funds.
Make a motion we allow Jason Tyler to move the money out of Texas class to do what he needs to keep his ambulance service up to speed.
Second.
All in favor? Court consider bids on antique airport beacons. I'm gonna give you the honors. They're came in at 948. Bid in the amount of $500 from Justin Perkacik.
This is an antique beacon that was out at the airport that doesn't function any longer. And I think we should allow these guys to, or corporation, whoever it is, to buy this antique beacon and do with it whatever they think is necessary.
All in favor? Sold for $500. Court to discuss and consider pay through savings program offer from Willdan Energy, formerly Lime Energy Solutions. So, this is where we replaced our lights for,
Courthouse and
courthouse
law
and
enforcement.
law enforcement center. And I was doing some, we saved some money, or will save some money in the future, once this is done, but from, what was it, 2017?
We started with Lime and at the very end, in the courthouse in 2019, the LA complex, not till 2020. But there's been significant savings, not as much on the courthouse, obviously,
Right.
but the law enforcement complex has saved a lot of money with the LED lights. So even compared to what we're paying monthly to Lime, we're still seeing a significant savings on the number.
But between, I compared it, was somewhere between, 12,000 up to 30,000.
Yeah, annually
Annually.
for the LA complex.
Right.
The courthouse is only between 3,000 and 5,000 annually, but our bill is also significantly lower at the courthouse than it is at the LA complex.
And so just to
And that's the
complete,
entire complex. That includes the police department side, the sheriff's side, the jail, the entire thing.
just to be clear, this, all the lights in the courthouse and the LEC center were replaced at no cost at all. Then the savings between what we were paying annually and our monthly paid for these lights up to this point and continue to do so with those savings. So this is something I thought at first was they're trying to get their money, but it changing from month to month, the amount that we're paying anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 a month, especially at the LEC, this will just become an average cost to us that will save us money, because who knows that energy prices are going up.
And we can do it two ways. Option one is a 5% discount of your monthly bill. Option two is a one-time lump sum payment. For the law enforcement center, the one-time lump sum payment would be $30,673.73. Total discount would be $10,847. Courthouse, same options. Option two is a lump sum payment of $3,326.18, or with a savings of $1,333.93. So a little over $1,200 savings if we did a lump sum payment. It was budgeted. I don't see why we wouldn't just go ahead and pay it off instead of making monthly payments and lower monthly payment. A 5% discount is what we'd get if we continued the payments. We paid $1798.77 a month for the law enforcement center, $390.11 a month for the courthouse.
which is still a difference of what we currently with just line. We were going with courthouses anywhere from $397 to I think $470 one time. So it would change every month. This would be a flat rate if you chose that way. It would always be the $390.11 for the next 9 months. The law enforcement one, we were paying anywhere from $17.34 a month to $23.93 a month to them. So either way, you're going to see a savings. So it's as Terry pointed out, with the cost of energy, it's not going down right now. So we know if we lock it in, then we're good. But I think one of the reasons is because Wildan took over line, and so they're just trying to update all of their agreements and honor what they had already had in place.
I personally like option two, just pay it, get it out of the way, get it done. We did budget for it.
It would not be the total amount that we would budget for, since it's 30,000. And so if it were 2,000 a month for the LEC and 300 here, that wouldn't be the total amount, but it would be definitely got some savings there. If we can pay the lump sum, so I'm assuming the rest of it would come out of our savings fund.
Yeah, I think we did budget that much for, we budgeted for
Budgeting for a
utilities.
year, a year's worth of
Year.
utilities, including paying what we pay currently to TXU Energy and then to line. So technically, yes, it's all budgeted for the
full
monthly payments at the, what we were.
Yeah, Dad.
At the,
Yeah.
the average of that.
Which would have been actually over 40,000.
Yeah.
The law-
So we
That's all
should
we
have
got.
enough savings in that
Okay.
to do
Yeah,
that.
and if we got the full amount is budgeted, I would make a motion that so we take the lump sum payment.
All in favor? Make sure I'm in the right place here. Court to discuss and consider road use agreement with Brothers Wind Ventures LLC and county judge to sign. So this was the road use agreement that we were waiting on the roads, to see what roads they wanted to use on that one. They listed one road, County Road 2224, and that's it. The rest would be state highways.
Really, the first map that we received, they were not using any county roads. But they are already keeping all of their trucks and that come in to redo this. They're keeping them right on this county road right now. I mean, whenever they start coming in, that will get larger. That area will, where the offices are at right now. And so just makes sense that they would want to get this into the road use agreement so that we are able to get paid back or get this road redone if they tear it up. I'm thinking all the concrete's gonna be done off road anyway. I don't think you're gonna see a lot of damage to a road. The only thing you're gonna be seeing is the towers that will be run and blades that will go down this road.
That looks like the same road use agreement would have the rest of them.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why we wouldn't. Make motion, the road use agreement with Brazos Wind Ventures LLC and for Tammy Justice.
All in favor? Okay, line item transfers and budget amendments.
Okay, I do have a question on the budget amendment. The one that you turned in for the 27,305, is that to come including with the 72 that you were just requesting?
That's all, yeah, I just did it
You've
in the
only done the
budget.
27 right now. You
Yes.
still have open capability the other one.
Yes.
Okay, just want clarification on that. This is a budget amendment for EMS, into his capital line. I did change it to 5710, not 5720. For 27,305.55 for the rugged tablets for ePCR charting and Intel fridge.
Ingle,
Fridge. And then that's the only budget amendment we have, the rest are line item transfers.
Okay.
There is line item transfer for court reporter, into notary and bonds, out of education and training, $150. He didn't budget for his notary to renew, so he had to do that. Maintenance, 300 into ground supplies, out of miscellaneous maintenance repair, and this was due to price increases. And then precinct 1, road and bridge, equipment, 1,000 to 5,000 for 56610 out of other equipment, and to pay for invoice for 2-way radios.
Make the motion to approve budget amendments and line transfers as presented.
All in favor? Okay, accounts payable.
Accounts payable is 1,356,813.15.
I think the best paying bills last week was paying this week.
All in favor?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all coming in today.
Dan, do you want me to get a picture of y'all?
good, look at that.
Yes.
Picture with your phone.